Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Hope you're doing well. My name's Carl. Welcome to this webinar on behalf of the TEFL org about TEFL salaries in 2022. As I said, my name's Carl. I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so. But Alan is also monitoring the chat. He works for the TEFL org, and Alan won an award this week, so he's quite happy with himself. And he'll be putting any links and things like that into the chat as well. So thank you very much in advance, Alan, for helping me out with that kind of thing. Please let me know wherever you are in the world. I'm in Northern Ireland, where I work as a teacher trainer for the TEFL org. So I do any of the practical courses that happen in Northern Ireland and sometimes the Republic of Ireland. I work as an online teacher. I work as an examiner. I've been examining English the whole day this morning for the last 9 hours. And I'm ready to, I've also taught abroad, I should say. I've taught in Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Japan, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, China, Spain and Italy for a bit as well. So please let us know where you are in the world. Let me see, I can see some hellos coming in. Hello, LJ in Salt Lake City. That's in America, Utah. Maria in Bulgaria. Hi. Sophia in Italy. Good to see you all. Nana, I hope I said that right, in Birmingham. Jessica in Richmond. Charles in France. Hello. I can't keep up with the hellos. Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Any questions you have at all about anything to do with TEFL, please do put it in the chat. Or if you've got any opinions on anything I'm saying, please also put that in the chat. If you disagree with me, please put that in the chat. If you agree, please put that in the chat. I love to hear your comments. And if I don't read them out now, or I don't have time to, I definitely come and watch it afterwards and read all the comments. Right. So TEFL salaries a bit in 2022. I'm going to talk a bit about TEFL salaries in general. I'm also going to show you some websites with some jobs advertised on them. And I'm also some more places where you can get some more information as well on our own website. Okay, so let's get going here. So TEFL salaries in 2022. Now, I get asked quite often, how much is a TEFL salary? How much can I earn teaching TEFL? And the answer to that is, how long is a piece of string? Which is a saying we have in the UK to say that, you know, a string can be super long or a string can be super small. Doesn't make any difference. There isn't a standard TEFL salary because it's a very international business. It's a very international focus to TEFL. And where people in Japan are earning is going to be different from what people in Brazil are earning, for example. Yeah, salaries vary from country to country for sure. Okay, so I can't tell you that this is how much you're going to earn whilst teaching English as a foreign language, because it really does depend whether you want to work online. I'm going to talk about online today as well. Whether you're going to work abroad, are you going to work in Southeast Asia? Are you also going to work in different parts of a country? You know, in the UK, the wage where I am in Belfast is different from the wage in London. So it really does depend. Online salaries also vary. There isn't a standard online wage that happens. Why? Because students in, let's say, Korea will be able to afford more than students in Argentina, for example, or students in Africa. So the online salaries do vary as well. And so far, I'm not really helping you, am I, in terms of how much you're going to earn? I'm coming to that, right? So first, what I would say is think about, if you're going for the online focus, think about where your students are. And if you're going for an independent focus and you need to make money, think about the richer paying customers. And if you see jobs advertised where the wage seems low, it could be because those students are not from rich countries, right? Now, if you want to talk generally about how to earn more as a TEFL teacher, experience counts. Okay, is the most important thing. When you sometimes see jobs advertised and it'll say from, and it'll say a low number up to a high number, generally it's to get the higher amount, you have to have a certain level of experience. And schools will have a different number in terms of the amount of time to get that higher amount. It could be 2 years to get the higher amount. It could be 5 years. It could be 10 years. Really does depend on the school. It can also be you start at the lowest amount with that school, and then as you work for them a bit longer, you start earning more. Okay. So experience does count to how much you would make. Yeah. And some companies within a country pay more than others. It's a free market out there. And if a school wants to pay $10 an hour, they can. If a school wants to pay $20 an hour, they can. And obviously, it depends. One school might have richer paying students than others. They might have different marketing techniques, that kind of thing. So don't think, right, a Chinese salary is this much. An online salary is this much, because there's lots and lots of variables within that. Okay. Now, this is a misleading slide probably, because I am definitely not rich. And who am I to tell you how to be rich? I've been teaching English as a foreign language for 20 years, and I'm not ready to retire anytime soon because I like it, but also because I can't afford to. So the first thing I would say to you is how to be rich as a TEFL teacher. Change your career. Don't be a TEFL teacher. If you want to be super, super rich, change your career. Okay. At the end of the day, you're in education. You know, you're not in international finance. You're not in medical sales, industries that might make a lot of money. You're in teaching, so don't expect to be amazingly well paid. What you'll probably be is just above the average salary wherever you go generally. All right. Now, if you can't change careers and you want to be a TEFL teacher, and I recommend you do be a TEFL teacher because it's a great life. If you can't change career and you want to be a TEFL teacher, the first thing to do to get a better paid TEFL job is to get a well accredited qualification. Now, you will put into Google, become an EFL teacher, and you'll see lots of companies that offer courses for people to do it. We offer them here at the TEFL org, and you'll also find ones cheaper than us. You'll also find ones that are more expensive than us. But what I would suggest is that you look at the qualification and the company that you're going to do your training with, or if you've already got your training and it's not really working out for getting higher paid qualifications, you want to do some more training, check the accreditation of the company. Make sure that they're a good quality company that has their tutors, their materials, their marketing, their websites, everything checked by external bodies to make sure it's of a high quality. Now, before I started working for the TEFL org, I worked as a teaching centre manager in charge of recruitment. And I would get lots of people, when I put a job advert up, I'd get lots of people emailing me, and they would say, oh, I've got a TEFL qualification. And I'd go into the bit more detail and I'd look, that TEFL qualification cost $10 or $20. It wasn't externally checked. It wasn't high quality. And I couldn't trust that as a qualification. So I didn't hire those people, basically. The next thing, if you can't change careers, if you want to make more money, you need to either already have or get a degree to get the higher paid jobs. Does a degree make you a better teacher? I don't think so necessarily. But schools around the world, countries around the world still value degrees, and they pay people more who have a degree. The next thing to keep earning a bit more money is to keep learning and keep improving. After you've got your basic TEFL qualification, you've done it a year, you think, I like this, I want to go for maybe a slightly higher paid job. Maybe you want to get into being a senior teacher training, that kind of thing. What you need to do is keep learning, keep improving. So do extra modules that you can put on your CV. Even just like read some books that you can talk about in interviews, that kind of thing that will help you to keep learning and it'll make you stand out a bit more. The other way to be richer in the TEFL business is to chase the oil money. Now, this doesn't work for all countries, but generally, if you go to countries where they have oil, they tend to pay more than countries that don't have oil. So obviously the biggest area is for oil production tends to be the Middle East, but I have also seen well-paid jobs in Russia, for example. Unfortunately, before Venezuela went a bit sort of crazy, I saw well-paid jobs in Venezuela. I also saw well-paid jobs in Tripoli. Places where there's lots of oil tend to have better paid jobs. The last thing to be aware of is that you need to be patient if you want to earn big bucks in TEFL. You're not, when you start out, going to go straight into a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year tax-free job. And there are jobs that pay that out there. You've got to be patient. You've got to work your way up. My first TEFL job was quite badly paid by the UK standards, but then I managed to get jobs where I made a bit of money working in some of the oil-rich countries. Right, living abroad. I'm going to get to online in a minute. Living abroad. The first thing, if you want to go and work as a TEFL teacher abroad and you're worried about how much money you're going to get or whether you're going to make enough, you've got to ask yourself, what sort of lifestyle do you want? Because the outgoings are as important as the incomings for TEFL salaries. So think about food. So for example, I lived in Vietnam and sometimes I wanted to eat some breakfast cereal. Yeah, very common in the UK to have breakfast cereal. Not common in Vietnam. I found a shop that sold breakfast cereal. It was about 4 or 5 times more expensive than the UK was. Now, if you go to a foreign country and if you want to eat the same food that you know from back home, and if you're not really into eating local food or eating what locals eat, it's going to cost you more money. So therefore, you need more salary. However, if you're lucky, if you're happy enough to eat locally, you won't need to spend so much. Think about going out. If you see a job advertised in Japan and that job pays $3,000 a month, you think, oh, that's pretty good. That's a lot of money. But do you like going out to clubs? Do you like going out a lot to drink beers, drink cocktails? That kind of thing costs money. You need to have more salary to cover it. All right. Holidays. If you go work in Thailand, are you then going to want to go and travel to Vietnam, to Cambodia, to Laos, maybe down to Singapore? Are you going to get a flight over to the Philippines? That kind of thing in your holidays. Flights cost money. You're going to need a higher salary for this. If you're not going to do that kind of thing, you can live really, really well on a Thai salary and just stay within Thailand, for example. Accommodation. Are you going to pay your own accommodation out of the wage? We're going to talk a bit more about this in a minute. Or are they going to pay you accommodation? That kind of thing. Would you be happy sharing a flat with someone? Or do you need to have your own flat? That will cost more money. All this kind of thing is important to think about. All of these things here, where am I here, affect your outgoings. And that affects the amount of money you've got coming in. Because it's going to go straight out on a nice flat. Is it going to go straight out every year, every term onto flights? Or are you going to just stay local? You can probably get by on less money then. Okay. Please, any questions about this, please do put it in the chat. Right, so if you're going to go work abroad, what you need to look beyond the salary. So if you've got that magic number of $3,000, $2,000, $1,000, and you think I can live off that, but you need to look for more than that if you're going to work abroad. So do they pay your accommodation? That's the biggest chunk of money. Lots of places in Europe don't pay accommodation. Lots of places in Asia do pay accommodation. So, but within that, there are places that don't. So the wage might seem low, but if they're including your accommodation, that might actually bump it up to more than somewhere which doesn't pay your accommodation. If you see a salary and you think, yeah, I could live off that, but do you need to pay your own accommodation? That could be a little bit expensive. Flights there and flights back. Is the school going to pay for them? Are you going to pay for them? How does it work? Look at the adverts, see that, because they can cost money. Health insurance. If you get sick, what's going to happen? Are you going to have to pay that out of your own money, or are the company going to pay it through the insurance scheme? That kind of thing makes a big difference. Some places ask for an end of course bonus. So they don't ask for, sorry, they give an end of course or contract bonus. So they might say, right, the wage is a bit lower, but if you stay with us for 2 years, at the end of it, we will give you a big lump sum. So that's the kind of thing to think about. You know, it might actually be that is your savings at the end. A lower wage that includes these things might work out better. So if money's a big driver for you, don't just automatically look at that magic number. Look for all of these things as well. Okay. So you want to make the money. The Middle East tends to pay the most. Yeah. Tends to. Not always, tends to pay the most. And I'm just going to show you one of our, this is our website. This is on the TEFL org website. I'm sure Alan will be able to put the link in so you can see it a bit more clearly. Yeah. But this is sort of talking about TEFL salaries by region. Yeah. And if you look at the Middle East, you've got Egypt, for example. It will tell you the average wage there is about 900. But if you look at somewhere like Kuwait, the average TEFL wage can be about £2,000, $2,500. Sorry, I should do it all in dollars. Stay in the same currency. Saudi Arabia can be anywhere up to $4,000 a month. So really does depends where you are in the Middle East and where you want to go. All right. But tends to be that the Middle East pays the most. Then it tends to be East Asia. Sorry, I'm just going to have to zoom in again here. So then looking at sort of the next biggest well-paid jobs. If you're looking for somewhere like Japan, you're looking at places maybe a bit like Taiwan. You're looking probably maybe South Korea or Vietnam. They tend to then pay the next best, right? And I'm not going to go into the figures because you can go on the link, which is in the chat, and you can look at some of those. You can look at some of those figures, right? Sorry, Southeast Asia and Europe tends to pay about a similar amount. So if you look at sort of Europe, you can sort of see places such as France, sort of around 2,000. You can look at places such as Italy, around 1,500. And that is similar to salaries such as Cambodia, similar such as Indonesia, similar to sort of places like Malaysia, that kind of thing. So Europe and Southeast Asia tend to pay a similar amount. Then lastly, tends to be Central or South America and then Africa. So countries such as, let me find the right place, South America. So if you can sort of see here, Argentina pays around £1,000, Ecuador about 800, Mexico about 1,000. You know, that tends to be the last ones. There aren't a huge amount of TEFL jobs in Africa below the Sahara. There don't tend to be. So you're sort of looking at places, if you want to teach in Africa, places like Algeria, places like Morocco tend to be the places where you can make some sort of money. All right. Now, the thing that I would say is if you're looking for money, and money's a motivator, don't discount English-speaking countries. So, for example, if you've got the right to work in the UK, if you can come and work in the UK, you can make not bad money, really, you know. as either in local colleges or universities. If you can maybe go work in Canada or go work in Australia, you can go and teach English in these countries, and you can maybe make some goodish money in places like that. Right, I'm going to get to your questions next, so please do put them in there. Now, one thing I would say to you is if the wage is low and you're not quite sure, you can make extra income when you're abroad. So the first thing to think about is, can you teach outside of your contract? So, for example, when I worked in Japan, I worked for one company. They also allowed me, as part of my visa, to go and work for other companies. So on a Saturday, I'd go work for another school to bump up my income. I'd also be a private instructor to local people, bumped up my income. But some visas for some schools link you to that one job and you can't go work for others. The other thing to think about is, could you get overtime? So in Vietnam, I worked for a university. They gave me a standard rate. I then worked a few extra hours, took a couple of classes on top of that for them. They paid me overtime. That bumped up my wage. Is there, believe it or not, any other work you could do? I've never done this. Whenever I've been around the world, I've only ever worked as a TEFL teacher. But I knew a guy I worked with in Vietnam who worked as a model. He wasn't the best of looking blokes either. I know people that worked in Japan that also worked and did some proofreading, that kind of thing. I know people that went and worked in bars, all that kind of thing. You know, is there any other work you could do? Proofreading tends to pay not too badly. Other things you can do is go do some extra training. I know people that went and did some business training in China for some companies as well. So just think yourself, is there anything else you could do? Yeah. Now, online. If you do want to work online, fantastic. You've got to think a little bit about you yourself. Now, are you doing a TEFL to be an online TEFL teacher full time? Now, that can be quite tricky to earn not bad money. Now, it depends where you are in the world. Well, you've got to think of what is your average wage. You know, what I think is bad money in another country, people might think is amazing money. Yeah. So it can be difficult to get a full-time amount of work. A lot of companies online, they pay per hour. Or if they do pay a set wage for a month or a year, whatever it might be, sometimes you've got to read the contract. They start you on a low amount and then you need to work up to it. So you've got to think about it yourself. Yeah. Or are you trying to top up your income on something that you already work as? And I think working online is a fantastic way of doing this. If you've got your own job, which you may or may not be happy with in your own country, do some extra work on top of it is sort of, as an online teacher, is definitely something that's worthwhile doing. So if you see jobs advertised and you think, oh, that could be it's not enough money for me, you've really got to think about, okay, if you're in the UK, if you're in London, you're in Sydney, you're in New York, somewhere like that, you need quite a lot of money to live. And a lot of the countries around the world are going to be cheaper than that. So they might not pay as much as you want them to, because they are in a country where they're earning less money. Yeah. Online, the best way to get a full-time good online salary is to set yourself up independently. Now, there's a lot of competition. COVID has made a lot of competition for sure from this. But I know people that have recently started setting themselves up as an independent online teacher, where they do their own marketing, they recruit their own they recruit their own students, and they set their own wage, and they make money from doing that. We have done webinars about this topic. So if this is something you want to think about doing, then go look on YouTube, look on Facebook, and see if you can find the webinars where I talk about setting yourself up as an independent teacher. Now, if you want to work online, what I would say is, and online money, I'm not talking about Bitcoin or something stupid like that. I'm talking about, stuff that you can actually use in life. Becoming full-time can take a while. You've got to bear that in mind as an online teacher, okay? The key thing if you want to earn a bit more money is to be flexible in terms of the hours you'll work, in terms of the students you will teach, in terms of maybe working for 2, possibly 3 companies at one time. That will help you to make a bit more money. If you think online is the way to go and you really want to be an online teacher, and I really think it's a good way of teaching, I really do, I recommend you work for a company while setting yourself up online. Don't put all of your eggs into one basket of being an independent teacher. Go work for one company and then set yourself up at the same time. Long term, that's the best way. You will see advertised badly paid jobs. You will. But if that's a foot into being an online teacher, or if that's a way to see if you like it or not, and you just do it for a couple of hours at the weekend, something like that, it might be a good way of starting. You've got to remember that what's your badly paid might be somebody else's well paid. You will also see well paid jobs. I've seen jobs advertised recently where, they pay sort of £20 an hour, something like that, $20 an hour. That's quite well paid for a job to just sort of sit at home. So just be flexible. Maybe go and do some badly paid jobs until you see some advertised that you like the idea of, and you can sort of say, look, I've got this experience. What I would recommend you do if you want to work online is make yourself an expert in the better paying fields. So we've got this other website about how you can make some money teaching online. How can you earn? This again is on our website, the TEFL org website, TEFL.org. How much can I earn teaching English online? And you'll see some of the companies listed here, including the wages. Gives you all some information there. But there's also here stuff about how to set yourself some fees online. And what I would suggest you do is look at a business English teacher is going to earn more than a general English teacher. An exam prep is going to earn more than a general English teacher. So just be a bit aware that within TEFL there are different ways of making money that might pay more if you're going to be online. Research. Now, if you're going to go work online or if you're going to go work abroad, it's crucial you spend time looking at money. If you're working online, how much is it? Are you already got everything you need to get going as an online teacher, or are you going to have to buy some things? If you're going to go work abroad, I think Alan's just very fantastic put some links in there about cost of living. Check that kind of thing. Look at the inflation rate. At the moment, 2022, this is crucial. You might not really know much about economics, but you need to check what the inflation rate is. I had a trainee teacher who got a job in Turkey. The inflation in Turkey is going astronomically up. So the wage that you've got now might not be enough in 6, 7, 8 months' time. Places like Argentina also have a huge inflation rate. The UK has a big inflation rate. That's the kind of thing to think about. Some of the things you need to Google if you're going to go abroad is, what's the average wage? How much do the locals earn? Because if the locals can live on an average wage and you're earning more than that, you're going to be okay. Just sort of have a general look at economic stories. Like, for example, I realised this week that Georgia, beautiful country, been there, amazing, beautiful wine, lovely cheese as well, their economy is booming at the moment in the world. Might be the sort of place where you want to go and think about working. Look at accommodation costs. How much is it going to cost to live there, or is that included in your rate of pay? Food, local street food, nice and cheap, fantastic, or do you want to go and sample all the Michelin-starred restaurants in Tokyo? That's going to cost you a bit more. Don't automatically assume that if you chase the most expensive countries in terms of how much they're going to in terms of how much things cost, that you're not going to make much money. In Japan, I managed to save quite a lot of money, even though hotels, food, that kind of thing is expensive, because the wage is more. My wife, she worked in Mexico, almost 2 decades ago, and she hardly spent any money, but she also managed to save that because there wasn't much to spend the money on. So just have a little think about yourself before you sort of start thinking about money. Right. Thank you, everybody. Let me get to some of these questions. I really do appreciate you all watching this today. Please, any comments at all that you have, please do put that in the chat. I've seen a couple of people asking about whether you can watch this again. Yes, you can watch this again on our Facebook page or our YouTube page or your LinkedIn. Okay, you don't need to download it or anything like that. Right, first question. Hello, is it Reese? I think is the first question we got there, or is it Tori? Let me scroll back up to see the first question that we've got. Tori, yes, that's it. Hi, you'd like to know what kind of protection we have as teachers for bringing back income earned after the contract time, and if the euro dollar changes. Right. So there's a few different ways of handling this, and what I tended to do when I was abroad, if I was in a position where I had money left over at the end of the month to take back, what I would do was I would most banks around the world will let you transfer from a local account to another account in your home country. So what I used to do for peace of mind myself was I used to just transfer at the end of every month or every other month a bit of money back to the UK. No problem. Now, you might get charged fees depending on the country, depending on the banks, that kind of thing. You might have to do a whole load of bureaucracy to do it, but in the end of the day, you should be able to do it. I also worked in a country where I worked in Azerbaijan, and I would... and the economy, the local currency just demolished overnight. I can remember being on a train and it was worth $2, and when I went back it was worth $1 on an overnight train. So look, there's not much you can do about that. What I would suggest in that position is if you change a little bit every month back to your own currency, or back into dollars or pounds or euros, you're not really going to be hit by that so hard. Whereas if you have saved up all of your money in the local currency, then you change it all at once at the end of the year, how do you know how much it's going to be worth? But yes, you can bring back that money. It's your money. You've got to check the tax rules, Tori, wherever you are and that kind of thing, but generally you can do that. Yeah. Every country I've ever been to, I've brought back money. Reese, hello. You went to the Rugby World Cup in Japan. Amazing. Lovely. Is TEFL a good career? Yes. Right. So make it right, Japan is a good country to get TEFL jobs. There's a big range of TEFL jobs. Long term, the best way to make money in Japan and to have a good steady income is to go work at universities. For that kind of thing, you will need a degree and you will need a master's and probably be working towards a PhD. And then that way in Japan, eventually you could maybe earn $70,000, $80,000 a year, maybe. Someone correct me if I've overstated that. But I know people in Japan that make money. When I worked in Japan, I worked for the British Council and I worked for them for a bit as an hourly paid pretty well. I also went and worked for another university, did some hourly paid stuff with them. I also found my own students. So yes, it is a good way to make money. There's lots of competition in Japan, Reese. I'm not saying you shouldn't go, but there's a lot of people who love Japan and they should because it's amazing. And there's a lot of competition for the higher paid jobs. But to get a good average salary, to be in there, to live in well, for sure, I think you can. One thing I recommend you is maybe look outside of Tokyo. There's a lot of competition in Tokyo. Everybody wants to live in Tokyo. But definitely, Reese, do it. You'll love it. Naina, hi. Does voluntary teaching count as experience? You're helping some Ukrainians on voluntary basis with basic English and you wanted this to count. So this would definitely help if you've already got your qualification, Naina. So What companies tend to do is say they want experience after qualification. They don't take, some places don't take experience before the qualification. Why? Because they want to know that you were teaching a good quality, and a qualification such as one of ours would get you up to a good standard. So yes, it does definitely count for things like applying for jobs, that kind of thing. Yeah, for sure. And I really recommend everybody has a go at doing this. It's really good fun, and you feel you get a warm feeling inside, which helps when the price of oil is very expensive. Karen or Charon, hi. Is it best practice to list hours if you volunteer and not working full time? Regarding experience, is it best practice to list the hours if you're volunteering? Yeah. So do you mean, Karen, put the volunteering experience on your CV? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely do that. Yeah. Why not? I don't know if I've answered your question, then, Karen. Definitely put that on your CV. Yeah, for sure. Good luck. Francesca McGraw, what are the best websites to find international TEFL jobs? Well, thank you very much. Let me just share my screen. Obviously, the best one is to go on to our website. So if you go to TEFL.org, we have a TEFL jobs at the top here. You click on that, it will take you to a job center. We'll list some of the jobs. Here's some of the ones that I found earlier. So here's a job in South Korea, which I quite like the look of. Tells you there about a big paragraph about money, that kind of thing. So TEFL.org is a good one. I also saw this one, quite a nice one, in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. I'd love to do that. Had a great time, that kind of thing. I would sort of have a look at that. Now, some jobs don't list the wage. You would need to contact them. I wouldn't be put off by that. That just seems to be the way that companies do that now, for sure. So TEFL.org is a good one. The next best one, I think, is this terribly designed website called eslcafe.com. Here's a job I found in, look, it does look as bad as it thinks it. Here's a job that I found that I think probably could be quite well paid in Saudi Arabia. So that was the one I think I found there. If you go to eslcafe.com, you can just type in there where you want to go. Let's say I want to go to Taiwan, find a job. You click that and it will go, there you go. It'll tell you all about the jobs in Taiwan, that kind of thing. So I think that's the best one, is TEFL.org, then eslcafe.com. Then there is another one called TEFL.com. Beyond that, you can look at places like LinkedIn. I've seen jobs advertised on there as well. Good luck, Francesca. Let's see, next question. Abigail. When schools require a degree, does it need to be in English? Any higher education degree is fine. I know people that have taught in business degrees, science degrees, language degrees, that kind of thing. Yeah. Good luck. Karen, again, hi. Jobs you've seen posted in Egypt and Middle East have required TEFL teacher certification beyond TEFL credentials. Yeah. They pay more. They can ask for more. That's why I said you've got to sort of keep learning. You've got to keep working towards things, for sure. They might ask for masters. They might ask, 20 years master's qualifications. I see some jobs that I can't go for because I don't have a PhD. They pay more. They can ask for more, quite simply. Yeah. So that's why you've always got to keep working. Alex, hi. Hello from Manchester, UK. You've recently started one of the courses. Once completed, are you guys able to assist the process of finding a job? Yep. So we've got lots of information, that kind of thing, stuff on our website. If you've got one of our qualifications with us and you're having trouble, and I don't think you should be, Alex, but we've done lots of videos like this kind of thing. But yeah, you can send us a message, that kind of thing. We can definitely help you out. Yeah, we're very friendly. TE 1989. Is this a robot that's come to ask me questions? If you travel to a different country, is it common to set up a separate bank account in that country? Yep, compulsory. So good companies around the world will help you to set up that bank account. Some companies won't actually go with you to the bank to set it up. Some will. But they should definitely be able to help you in terms of pointing to you in the right direction and that kind of thing. You will need a local bank account. And, there are chains out there, and, banks are pretty good nowadays in terms of sending money around the world. So that's definitely something you can do. All right. Jenny, hi. Do you need a Japanese work visa if you want to teach online in Japan? No, you shouldn't do it to teach online. Now, right. Online is a funny area in terms that some companies around the world might ask you to get a local visa. So, for example, if I want to go work for an online Chinese company, they might say to me, "Get an online. Can you come and get a Chinese work visa?" I don't think that most of them do that. So you might see the odd one that does that. It could be that they're a new company, they're not really sure what's going on. But I have taught students in Japan without a Japanese work visa. So you shouldn't need to do that. Okay. May or Mai, hi. Is there a way to compare the cost of living with monthly TEFL wages? You might be paid less in Argentina, for instance, but the cost of living may be less. Yes. This is what I'm talking about today. The way to do it is to have, 2 windows up on your computer, one with the cost of living, one with the wage. That's the simple. I don't think there's a proper website out there. We do give you some advice, that kind of thing, on our website, but I don't think for each country you're going to be able to do that. You're going to have to work yourself out. I also think it's perfectly acceptable if you get offered a job to ask the company that's employing you, how much will I have to spend on accommodation? How much will I have to spend if I want to go to the hospital or see a doctor? I think you're perfectly acceptable to do that, and I have definitely asked that before. Okay. Good luck. Argentina, the economic situation is crazy, but everyone I know that's ever been there loved it. Alison, hi. Do you think you need some experience before you set yourself up as an independent teacher to teach online? Yes. The reason being is because, if you to go straight into online teaching where you don't have a syllabus, where you don't have lessons, where there's nobody else to help you, which is what will happen if you're independent, can be quite daunting. Whereas if you've gone and worked for a company for a bit, you can sort of see how the lessons are written. You can see how to use the screens. You can do the tech, that kind of thing. The other way that I would say to you is it is pretty difficult to get a full-time amount of hours as an independent teacher. Takes a long time. You've got to get marketing right. You've got to be patient, all that kind of thing. If you're working for a company at the same time as setting yourself up independently, you've got some money coming in. You haven't got that big pressure of, I've got to have a full-time wage right now and I need to do all this, So I would definitely say go work for a company and also set yourself up independently as well. Okay. Coming to the end now. So just your last few questions coming up. Thank you for staying with us. Please do like this video and all that sort of thing. Very vain like that. I do like likes. Ball, am I saying your name right? I'm sorry, probably not at all. You already have the 120 hour. Your dream is to teach abroad, but you don't have a degree. Yeah, right. Go on our website. Go to the TEFL.org. Click on the blog. Look at teaching English, abroad without a degree. Depends where you want to go in the world. Europe, if you can get into Europe in terms of your work visa, because that could be the difficult side of things. Europe, amazing for teaching without a degree. Cambodia is pretty good for teaching without a degree. Central America and some parts of northern South America, if that makes sense, can be good for teaching without a degree, for sure. What I would say to you though, Mr. or Mrs. Shalom, is long term, you're going to need a degree if you want to be a TEFL teacher long term. I think in terms of wanting to go to different places around the world. Sorry, Japan. You can also get the working holiday visa for Japan, and that's pretty good to go without a degree as well. Anthony, hi, Anthony Shaw II. Hello. When teaching independently online with a valid TEFL certification, is there a standard approved curriculum? No, you build your own. That's the joy of it. Find a niche that you want to teach that pays not badly. Teach to it. Make your own curriculum. Go for it. Okay. Let me see any more questions. Got any more, Alan, or have we run out of time? I think we might have run out of time, have we? Yeah, I think we have run out of time. I'm really sorry if we haven't got you a question. I'm really, really sorry, okay? Please message us. If you do have a question for us, go to our website, and if you go to TEFL.org, let me show the website here quickly, because I can see there's a few questions there that I didn't get to. TEFL.org. If you go to our website, if you scroll down, and then eventually you'll get to a chat with us function, which comes up at the bottom right of the corner, because my computer is not as quick as it used to be. But you'll see a chat with us function that comes up at the bottom right hand corner. You can send us a message there. You can also, through Facebook, send us a message through the chat function. We read them all. You can send us an email, all that kind of thing. We've got a contact us section, all this kind of thing. I should have just gone straight to that. You can contact us. Please send us a question. Anything you have, we are happy to answer. We also have Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing. We also have, which I think is the quickest way of getting an answer, we have a TEFL.org chat group on Facebook. So that's different from the page that you're looking on. This is a group page, and you can chat with other TEFL students. I answer a couple of questions in there. Other teachers answer the questions in there. The final thing I would recommend, if you want to go teach abroad, we have a podcast about teaching abroad. It's really, really good. It interviews people that have taught in loads of different places around the world. I'm hoping to be interviewed for it soon. And there's loads and loads of great tips in that. Okay, so I really recommend you download that podcast and you start listening to it. Thank you very much, everybody who's still with us. Please like this video, please share this video and all that sort of thing. If you disagree with anything I've said, please do put that in the chat. I like to read people that disagree with me as much as people that agree with me. Have a good day, have a good evening, look after yourselves. Bye bye.